Okay, so it was 2005. It was, what, maybe March of 2005. I had just gotten out of the Navy, like in January. I had just gotten a new job, and I'd gone up the street to the convenience store to get a drink. Anyways, a friend of mine that I knew when I was a teenager was working there. And when I saw her, I just kind of like looked like, oh God, don't recognize me, don't recognize me. But I looked exactly the same as I had 4 years before. So started like, talking, like hanging out and stuff, but it was like really friendly. And this was a girl that like from the time I was like 16 till almost 18, I spent pretty much every day with. Like, smoking the reefer, and yeah, just hanging out. We never actually did anything. She always had a boyfriend, like, including, like, there was a time where she dated this guy who was actually homeless and had fried his brain so badly on acid that he thought that we were living in the Matrix. Had no job and always smelled like, somebody took a dump inside of a public dumpster. And, that kind of messes with a teenager whenever there's a girl who's, with a homeless, acid fried brain living in the Matrix stinky guy who also was not nearly as cute as me. Damn it. So, yeah, that was the short story of me and Jessica when we were kids. So I see her like later on in life, and I've pretty much forgotten about her 4 years later. But as soon as you see someone that you have such a history with, it all just comes flooding back, flooding in like whenever you have the sewer and yeah. Oh, wait, but anyways, like things were really cool actually. Like it was like I finally could like be friends with her, and like that was probably what she wanted the whole time, and I just didn't understand it, and it was really cool. Like I'd finally gotten to the point when I was like 23 years old where I could be friends with a girl that I thought was attractive and be cool with it, and that's a cool feeling. So anyways, we like just started hanging out and talking, and go see her at work, and it was fun times. Anyways, her parents, who I was like really cool with when we were younger, like for the most part, they were all like, "Oh, you should have Anthony come over." So I go over to her parents' house where she's at one day. I walk in. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" All that good shit. Anyways, I see some. I look over on the wall. Her dad was actually sitting in a reclining chair. Mom was like running around, and Jessica's son was like running around the house. He freaking hated me, like scared of me or something. Like it really hurt my feelings. Well, anyways, her dad had been sitting in the chair the whole time. And anyways, we were just bullshitting around, and he pointed over to his canes. Like he had some like those custom made canes, like pimp canes or whatever, but they're made out of wood. He had a bunch of those sitting on the wall, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I make canes now. Those are mine over there. I make custom canes." Well, at that time, I made a joke. I was like, "Oh, I thought you were just crippled or something." 9 months before, he had been in a motorcycle wreck where basically he slid off of his motorcycle when he got run off the road by a truck, and his body slammed into a tree going like I have no idea how fast. Shattered nearly every bone in his body. Um, so at the time when I made this comment, he actually was crippled. And I tried to cover it up, making jokes and stuff about it, like, God, I'm retarded. But you really can't downplay that. You really can't. Um, but I mean, he looked like he was fine. He was in one piece. There was no like wheelchair, or he had no braces on. There was no way of knowing. Like, I almost kind of thought maybe he would take it as a compliment, you know? Be like, oh, you're completely crippled, but you look great. Needless to say, they didn't ever invite me back over again. Good time.